Hello everybody, Lord Almighty here. I just wanted to make this quick video to correct some misinformation that was in my last video. In that video, my subscriber Luke and I were fishing a stretch of river that I thought was under special fishing regulations, which restricted the number of hook points on a lure to 3, and that all those hook points had to be barbless. However, as it turns out, the stretch of river we were fishing was not in fact subject to those special regulations. And I want to explain briefly why I arrived at that incorrect conclusion. It all stems from this diagram. So this map appears on page 23 of the 2019 Freshwater Fishing Digest that is published by the New Jersey Department of Fish and Wildlife. The green section shown on the map, including the circled stretch, which is where Luke and I were fishing, is shown on that figure as being designated as brown trout enhancement water. Now, the bottom of page 22 of the Freshwater Fishing Digest has a table titled Wild Brown Trout Enhancement Streams, and it shows gear restrictions, including artificials only, with no more than 3 barbless hook points in total. And you can see I highlighted that particular stipulation in this version of the table. However, on page 21 of the Freshwater Fishing Digest appears this table titled Trout Stock Streams Wild Brown Trout Managed. Now, this lists the stretch of the South Branch in question, and it does not indicate that the stretch is considered wild trout water and makes no reference to any gear restrictions. Now, this is where the confusion came up, because Luke was under the impression that this stretch was not special regulation, and he referenced this particular table. Meanwhile, I was referencing the figure that appeared on page 23 and the corresponding table on page 22, which is why I thought it was specially regulated water. So, in order to clear things up, I sent a query to the New Jersey Department of Fish and Wildlife, and they were right on top of it. I got a response within 24 hours of me sending the email out. I was contacted by one of the fisheries biologists, and I'll just go through exactly what he said in the text of his email. So, Sean Krause, who is the principal fisheries biologist for the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife, reached out to me and he said, "Craig, I would like to apologize for the confusion. This is something we noticed as well. The map on page 23 of the 2019 Freshwater Fishing Digest is worded inaccurately. The legend for the green line should read, Trout Stocked Wild Brown Trout Managed. The regulations for this section appear on the top of page 21, and there is no barbless requirement. As written on page 23, it incorrectly leads the reader to think the green line is regulated as a wild trout stream, as indicated on the bottom of page 22. This will be corrected for the 2020 Freshwater Fishing Digest." So there you have it. Because of an error made by the Department of Fish and Wildlife in their 2019 fishing regulations, I made the incorrect conclusion about that particular stretch of water. But in the end, I'm kind of glad that I erred on the side of caution and decided to use barbless hooks, because you're never going to break any regulations in New Jersey by using a barbless hook anywhere. The problem would have occurred if it was the other way around and I had assumed it wasn't special regs and it was, and I didn't use the barbless hooks when I had to, and that would have wound up being a violation of the fish and game laws of the state of New Jersey. And that's the last thing I want to do as a angler and a representative of the angling community in this state. Also, kind of as an aside, I just want to state that I don't believe that revealing the location of where I was fishing is spot burning in this case, because all of that information is available for free from the New Jersey Department of Fish and Wildlife. So if you're familiar with that spot and you want to complain about somebody blowing it up, contact Fish and Wildlife because they literally wrote the book on it. So that's really all I wanted to say on the matter. I have updated the title of that video to reflect that it is not, in fact, special regulation waters. And I put a little annotation where it discusses the regulations in the video to link back to this video, kind of explaining that that information is incorrect. And I do want to reiterate that it is never my intention to provide false information in any of my videos. And if that information did confuse anybody or otherwise lead them astray, I do apologize, which is why I wanted to make this quick little video to kind of correct the mistake that I made and make sure that the right information gets out there. So in closing, I just want to say that if you are planning on fishing a body of water in New Jersey or in any state that you're not familiar with, please read the regulations, and if you find those regulations confusing, contact that state's Fish and Wildlife Department, because you may have identified a mistake that they didn't, and they can correct that mistake going forward and make things a lot easier for the rest of the anglers. So thank you all so much for watching. Again, I apologize if I confused anybody with my last video, but hopefully this sets the record straight. And I will see you on the next adventure.